Eric Mother with Mother.com with another one-on-one coaching video, and we're going to be taking a look at how you can time some of these explosive stocks. Now here's a stock that is bar none the best performing stock this month. In fact, there's no comparison. At some point this month the stock was up, believe it or not, 1,600% for the month alone. So this is the biggest moving stock in the market. So how would you time something like this that was trading at about 70 cents end of March of last month, and now going as high this month, recording a high of about 21.75? How would you time something like this for a potential entry, maybe where you can get, let's call it about 20% return, maybe 30%, maybe more, maybe less? So how would you time something like this with some speculative money, if there's such a thing? And this being a follow-up of the previous video, we'll have to go to the smaller time frames to find the entry. So let's go, this is in the monthly. Let's take a look at the weekly. So we're going to go from time frame to time frame to see where we can get a logical entry. Of course, with a stock like this that has now recorded a high of 21.75, it's now trading at $12. That's almost a 45% drop. So you have to be careful with this type of high flying stocks. So we don't see any 2-week rest period. There's no 2-week rest period on this weekly chart, so we can get an entry here. Let's go to the daily. And on the daily, we can see now that the stock has pulled back slightly. And this is a 1-year daily chart. The one thing I'd like to show you here is a couple of things I noticed is if you take the line connecting the previous RSI highs and draw it like that, so connecting this point, you see that it now comes and it looks like the stock is holding and finding support on this line. So this is an area where you'd want to look for entry. The reason I say that is if the stock is to go back above 69.1, if it is to do that, then this support right now, right here, would suggest that this is where it could start showing that evidence. And you definitely want to be part of this rebound if the stock moves back above 69.1, because that would suggest that there would be another explosive move, at the very least, to challenge some of these highs at 19, 20, or 21. So again, it is critical to understand that the breakout in price here, in my opinion, is now giving us a logical place to suspect that if this holds, this stock could explode higher for another 20, 30, 40% gain. Take a look at this sharp angle of penetration, which means that if we get another sharp angle of penetration back above 69.1, another sharp angle of penetration, and I have videos explaining that, then this would be where you want to go long. Now, if you are to play the daily breakout, then you have to wait for this stock to move above recent daily closing highs, and the recent daily closing high there is at 16.08. So from a breakout perspective, that's your next buy point, when it moves above the recent daily closing high at 16.08. Now that's the 1-year daily. Let's take a look at a 1-year or a 6 months daily chart, so we can have a look at this from a narrower point of view. And you can see that yes, this is the most recent daily closing high, which is our next logical breakout at 16.08. We also see that the last time we had at least 2 days of rest was here, as discussed in the prior video, which is during this breakout. So from a timing perspective, even for such an elevated stock, your next logical buy point on a breakout is here at 16.08. But I want to show you how you can continue to the next time frame. So this is the daily. Let's go to the hourly. and I want to show you how you can use the other time frames to try and sneak in a good entry. Number one, if we draw a line connecting the prior highs here on the RSI, we see that the breakout above that declining RSI line began this move here at under 80 cents, or let's call it under $1 for sure. And that began this nice explosive move in the market. So we know that the movement on hindsight began here, which happens to be again around the 50. So if we draw a straight line like this, we can see that if the stock continues showing evidence of bouncing at the 50, that would suggest that this is where it would start coiling back up. So this is where it would start coiling back up. Why? Because it is testing now the previous ideal entry level, which happens to be at the 50. So if the 50 holds, then the stock is a buy. Okay, so and I'll show you what you can do. So this is 3 months worth of hourly data. I want to go and take a look at a 1 month view so we can get a closer view of this. So we can, this is 1 month, and we can see that we need the stock to hold the 50 on this 1 month hourly chart. And this is because the ideal entry here began somewhere here at about 80 cents, 70 cents. So if this is to hold, we want to go long. And what I would do is take this most recent hourly closing high, and that hourly closing high is at a price of 12.32. Right now the stock is trading at 11.60. All right. If you want to go long, I think there's nothing wrong at 11.60. As long as you place a stop, knowing that all you want to do here is see the stock hold this 50 level. But why I mentioned 12.32 is because it is the highest hourly close over the last couple of hours and also for today. So if it moves back above 12.32, you want to be a buyer, because that would suggest a couple of things. A, that the momentum is starting to pick up, and also B, that the RSI has already moved above and found support at the 50. So the logical place is to buy around current levels if you want to be risky. But if you want to be a little bit waiting, or at least a little bit conservative and wait for a breakout, then the level to watch is the recent hourly closing high at 12.32. Now, also, you can take a look at the 5-minute chart. So 10-day 5-minute chart, I want to show you a couple of things. We can see that if we extend this line, so there was a break. So this was a very critical line. Once we broke down here, this happens to be somewhere here at about 18. The stock has been down since then. In fact, down a significant amount. If we extend this same line upwards, we can see that at the highs of today, which happens to be at about 13.47, the stock did come back and hit the same line extension. So that was a place to be aware of resistance, which also means that, so let me explain that one idea again. Extend it. The same line that was a break has now become a sell signal. So clearly, this is where you need to watch. Should the stock come back to this level at some point, any move back above this line with the resistance would suggest short-term sell signal down the road. So keep that line on your charts for resistance down the road. Now, there's also another view of this, which is if we take the RSI break here, this break point in the RSI can be also seen to have given a sell signal, which is somewhere around this level here at about $18, $17. If we draw a line, simple line from there, we can see again, this is resistance area. So clearly, if this stock is to recover and have a spike, it needs to first and foremost break out above this line, and that breakout would then confirm that it has enough energy to continue plugging higher. So it needs to move above that line. Okay, so keep in mind that's some of the things you have to watch for. But from a timing perspective, I think you can either go long here because of so at about 1160, I would go long with a stop because the hourly chart looks like it is showing support at the 50. But while you own the stock, just keep in mind that this is where it's been coming to this level and stalling. For it to do well, it needs to be trading above this line of resistance. And keep in mind, we also talked about this back test. So don't be too confused. I'm just showing you levels where you have to have some consideration of what is going on. But for my money, I'm going to go back to the hourly because the hourly just needs to hold above the 50, which is what it's doing its best to do here. In fact, if it shows us a double bottom support on the hourly RSI, then that is where you'd want to go along. Keep in mind, I'm using RSI period of 26 on this hourly chart. So again, if you want to be conservative, wait for it to move above 12.32, which is the high on an hourly closing basis for this day. So 12.32 would be the buy. Otherwise, I would be a buy around here, even at about 1150 with a stop, because it is showing evidence of stabilizing around the 50. And that 50 is where the move began. So that's a very important level for that stock.